Hello and welcome to the Tech Lunch Podcast, where we encourage our listeners to learn something new about tech every week. This can range from learning about new and exciting applications to the advancements in coding and technology. If you are always learning, you will always be a step above the rest. Take the time during lunch or during a break to listen and learn, kind of like a lunch and learn, but for the ears. This podcast will open the listener's ears to new and exciting technologies they may have not been purview to in the past. These topics will range from manufacturing technologies to data collection technologies and everything in between. Hello, I'm Nick.
Hey, I'm John.
And this week we're kind of, missing Ed, mainly because we're getting into the Thanksgiving season, and, he's going to go see his family and spend time with them. Sometimes it's better to spend family than sitting here running your gums about, some, random topic.
Yeah.
And, to continue that process of just absolute randomness to keep you all actively entertained.
Sometimes they're the same.
Right, exactly. It's a big thing of, are you not entertained?
Yeah.
The supply chain, and global logistics and interim logistics, and also the technology behind, I guess you can say, what is the technology behind logistics and warehousing and stuff like that?
Yeah.
So, I know we were trying to aim for like interlogistics and stuff like that, or, the supply chain and stuff like that. If we start looking at like the technology behind it and how growth happens, behind logistics itself, I think that's kind of a better way, kind of slingshot.
Yeah, if you want to lay a basis down, or like a foundation for like, what is supply chain, basically?
That'd be a good thing to define.
So, if I were to say, my phone, I want this phone, what would any person do? Go to Apple Store.
Yeah, exactly.
Or their phone, whoever you have your program you're playing with, you would go to them and you'd ask for it.
Yeah, that's a supply chain.
Do they make them? They don't make them. It goes down to the very details of those little components, those little tiny screws that go in, the little ribbon cables that go in there. Those are developed by another company, which were outsourced from the parts from another company so forth. They can put it together, and then you got your iPhone. You're not going to get it immediately. It's not like, I can hit a button and it's there. That iPhone that was there has been built for months, and you just so happen to walk up and pick it up, right? So that's what I would say, basic supply chain, very, very basic.
Mm-hmm.
But whenever I'm thinking about the technology that goes into not only making sure that gets done, the tracking in between.
Yep.
And then like
intermodal and stuff like that.
Yeah, there's so many mathematical equations that go into like
just behind the transportation part of it. If you think about it,
just getting the part to you, or the materials into one place, so that manufacturing location, that warehouse, facility, whatever, can build that piece for you and then ship it to you. Yeah. Now, it's crazy how many steps that go into that, but
right.
How many hands do you think it touches? How many people are in the middle?
It's like, if you think about it, the supplier outreach for some of these companies is absolutely insane.
Yeah.
And they're having to deal with everything just in time, just in sequence, if they're dealing with that, unless they're doing bulk packaging.
God forbid you have an issue.
Right. And then some of these guys, they do the bulk ship, so, they may order, 150,000 parts of this one component.
Yeah.
And it's delivered. Ribbon cables. Cool, I'm going to order, 1,900 feet of ribbon cable to run this line for a couple weeks. It's like, but, however, if you have an issue with that ribbon cable, now you go back to the supplier, and you pray that supplier didn't outsource it. If that supplier outsourced it, now that supplier needs to go talk to their supplier to pray that, guess what, things are correct. It's very hard to go to companies who make their own ribbon cables. We know this.
You get this domino effects happening.
Right. And it's, if you think about it, everybody has their hand in the pot. By the time you get something, it cost, $18, $19, when originally it only cost maybe 10 cents to make.
Right.
It's like, if you think about it, the whole thing behind supply and demand. But, the big ticket item is making sure you have enough supply to meet the demand. Or we run into the current issue that everybody is feeling, and we start ending up in supply chain issues.
Yeah.
And now we're finally recovering from that. And, you start dealing with tonnages, how many tons of stuff is coming in.
Yeah.
But then it's like I was watching something the other day, speaking of this. If you're talking about the sequencing and tracking of containers, coming off of, vessels and stuff like that, going onto trucks, you need to make sure that your first container hits the dry land first before your next container follows.
Mm-hmm.
So lately they've been having issues of where, I'm getting this full container that was supposed to be for last week's delivery today, and I'm getting this week's delivery today. So they're getting 4 times the amount of material in one shot. And the problem is, if that has an expiration date, by the time you go back to use your second half, it's already expired because now you're inside, lost in waste.
Yeah.
The waste behind it is outrageous.
And that could have went to maybe another company that would utilize that has the resources to consume the material resources in that time. So like you're getting close to explaining kind of what could be put in place that would solve all these problems.
Yeah.
So you're talking about container management, of course, but in a lot of cases the port. So
you can't track the port. You can't tell the port what to do.
Yeah, it's tough.
Ever
on
deal
the
with
port.
the union?
Yeah, it's tough. I mean, the railroads are experiencing that issue right there. They
trucking
already
is too.
agreed. Yeah, trucking too. So dealing with the union is definitely difficult, but not impossible. And all I'm saying is it's pretty simple to make a body tracking system, like execution system, whatever you want to call it.
MES system to run it.
So you can like make sure things are sequentially happening and things are clearing, but like we've created such a high demand, so the supply must match it.
Right.
So in that case, it's like we spin up. I'm kind of attacking it from a different angle. It's like you're waiting for things to come to you. Why don't you develop? You see developing different resources to make the same part. So like let's say I have to wait for a cobalt piece here,
Mm-hmm.
but maybe this aluminum fits the profile, performs the way I need it to. We may downgrade it a little bit, but like so what I'm saying is you're seeing iterations of things, and like we get back to our whole thing of our rapid prototyping is now you've touched so many different realms of technology that like it's crazy. You're almost you get to a point where you're synthesizing your own. You're your own supply chain. So there are many ways to individualize it or scale it up, like with the companies that make the houses and stuff like that. You can scale those things.
Yeah,
up.
we've gotten to the fact where we're 3D printing houses now.
So yeah, you
we
see
that supply chain
housing is in need. So there's homeless. They need cheap housing and things like
why
that.
Have container homes.
So you see the innovation. So that's kind of the thing that's going. Is like the innovation is stemming from the need, like pretty much being forced.
Yeah.
So that's ran by technology, though.
If you think about it, the entire supply chain, technology platform is is kind of an archaic process.
Yeah.
However, an archaic process to a fault, because if you think about it, like the shipping containers were built because somebody wanted to transport their truck from point A to point B. Yeah. They couldn't do that during that time, during the early 50s, 60s?
Yeah, they had to have a little notebook of writing everything down.
Well, that's also when they did bulk shipping. Yeah. So they unpacked everything and shoved it into a boat, then moved to the other end. And so you're taking 18, 19, 20 hours to unload the ship. In reality, you can do bulk packaging, inside shipping containers, pick and go, and you're done within a couple hours.
Yeah.
It's like technology is the mother of all, is the mother of all innovation.
Yeah.
However, that innovation comes because somebody found a problem in the current process.
Yep.
And so, like tracking and stuff like that, you get a lot of stuff. You have RTS, real-time tracking and stuff that you're dealing with. Ship tracking, for example. You can track ships all over the globe right now just by going on the internet. Same thing is
put them on sharks. You see the sharks.
Same thing is like planes. You know where the plane is. I can go on my phone and track a UPS package. That comes to my house. Same thing with Amazon. We know that 95% of our users or listeners have done that. You've dealt with a logistics MES system
that tells you real-time tracking based off of GPS and check-ins. So when a package arrives from point A to point B, it's scanned into a location, sent to their website that says, "Hey, guess what? It's arrived at this location." You'll get in a couple of days based off of this stuff.
And we've come to expect that.
Right. You came to but now if you start dealing with the fact that you're going to run into a problem.
Yeah.
You start bulk buying, and which is fine.
Yeah.
Non-perishable items can be bulk bought. If you start dealing with the fact that you're going to downgrade technology, like what you were saying, just don't do it with anything safety relevant.
Yeah.
For the love of God, spend the extra money, wait a little bit extra time, make sure you got safety relevant stuff taken care of. Yeah. Don't cheap out on the airbags. All right. We don't need to be in an accident next to a whoopee cushion pop out.
That's probably the worst thing.
I have a feeling that's coming. Sooner or later, you're going to see some car manufacturer that you hit the horn, and it's an awooga button.
I think
so it just really just depends on what you end up with.
That's true.
That's where we're going.
Well, I mean, but you're getting to the root of it too, though. Is that without saying exactly which technologies we're using every bit that we can get our hands on to solve a problem.
Oh yeah.
But what drives it is definitely the cost.
Yeah.
So it definitely, you got project managers, leaders that are driving and they want to get the cost down, but those solutions also stem from that need too.
Mm-hmm.
So Apple's not doing bad, right?
No.
They're still getting iPhones out.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Everybody's waiting like a couple weeks. So of course.
Well, the thing is if you think about it, they pre-built before they even release.
Yeah.
And they keep a steady stock of stuff on hand.
Yeah, cold storage is definitely an important piece too, but it also creates the possibility of a problem that I would foresee.
Right.
And that's not saying that you're not going to sell all of them, but let's say you do. For lack of a better term, we've already been bringing them up. Apple does rapid iterations too.
Oh yeah.
Like the 13 just came out last year, and they're already at the 14.
Mm-hmm.
And they
solve a problem in their product and spit out the next one.
Yeah, it's the same thing. So Steam or Valve, the company that they have a lot of games on computers, they've developed like a competitor to the Switch, a Steam Deck. They've already started working on the Steam Deck too.
Yeah.
Before the Steam Deck even came out. So they're already rapid prototyping those things. So that, in that sense, you can't keep that back stock.
Right.
Essentially you could. It's going to hurt you though.
Mm-hmm.
But how would I solve that problem? Inventory tracking.
Yep.
You would have which they probably have. Refurbishments and recycling and things like that.
You said it's a Walmart or Best Buy.
Yeah, most companies probably even have their own where they're like, this product's not going to be for sale anymore, but we've got a back stock of them, so we're just going to recycle these and use those parts into our next.
Yeah, or clearance them.
Yeah, or clearance them. I mean, that's one thing. That's
if you want to get rid of them and
that's
eat
the big lot strategy.
Yeah, been there, done that before.
So, but I mean, it works.
Yeah, it does.
It definitely works. I mean,
and the big thing is being able to track every single step of that product life cycle. Product life cycle is another thing that deals with with the logistics, warehousing, and supply chain issues. Because if you think about it, and this goes back to the technology behind it, is as I use a part, I need to be deducting that from my stock using an inventory management system or an IMS.
Yeah.
I want to deduct that part from my stock every step of the way. And then when I get to a certain point, my system auto re-triggers an order back to my supplier where I know I have enough to make up for a gap in my line or my process. Right. And then my supplier delivers, refurbishes my head count, and then off we go again, and we repeat the process, making sure it gets into this loop. Now, the other thing is being able to track your order from the day one.
Yep.
Is, hey, guess what? I've ordered this. I need this part. Let me track it from the point of manufacture to the point of arrival, and everything in between, especially if you're a small manufacturer. Allow that to happen. RFID your stuff. Ping your stuff. RFID, NFC tags are cheap. You
definitely should.
But, and the thing is understanding where things are at. The thing is the best way to beat a supply chain issue is visibility. And and using technology to provide that visibility.
That's a good point.
Is something that, helps. Having everything online, having your users know kind of what's going on, or have your employees who are dealing in your warehouse know what's going on. Yeah. But You know, it just really all just depends. Now, if you start dealing with, you know, some more distant, supply chain issues, you may only get there every now and then. You know,
have to find a new supplier.
Right, or you really have a lack thereof suppliers, and eventually something will give. You know, if you think about it, you know, one of our favorite topics to talk about, the International Space Station, for example.
Yeah.
Right. I'm cramming, you know, 10 tons of stuff into this 5-pound bag, known as the cargo dragon from SpaceX. And I'm launching that thing to the International Space Station autonomously, docking. They're undocking everything out of the inside of it. They're inventorying all of their gear, putting their old crap back in it, and kicking it down the road, and it comes down and splashes down the outside of freaking Daytona Beach.
Yeah.
Guess what? You just did the entire inventory management system in the space no larger than a 3-bedroom apartment.
Yeah, and I think there's even like another way to look at that is that like
you only have 3 suppliers: Northrop Grumman, the Russian Soyuz, or SpaceX.
Yeah, and that's something you can take and look at it from a different view. Is like that's a perfect example. Like it's going, you've got now a supply chain that you're getting the ultimate
orbital
distance into space. Yeah, like so you know NASA's working on that moon base, and
Orion's now currently circling the moon.
Yeah, and which
is
very beautiful. But you know you've got other companies or countries that are developing their own bases and things like that. There's no reason for me to believe that there will not be some type of logistics system that needs to exist in space, or some type of, we have to find some long range transmitting. But like honestly, you've
talking like a suborbital warehouse.
Yeah, something like that.
That
I mean,
makes
honestly, it's probably lunar base. Probably going to be something like that.
Yeah, lunar.
I wouldn't doubt it. Is it like it's a place that people. Now this probably, I kind of digress a little bit, but it's probably going to be a place where I would test out like how would you behave in space. So we're going to give you a very low gravity like situation. Yeah, they can put you in 0 gravity places on Earth, but it's not the same. They put you in a spacesuit. They put you on the moon. You have a moon base. Spend 2 weeks there, and you'll understand what it's like going out into space or something, or you'll have more of a grasp, right? And then of course a refueling place. That's how I would view it.
Well, if you think about it, you might get, you know, some really low OSHA complaints.
Yeah.
You know, you don't have to worry about getting hit with a forklift or any of the other stuff because it doesn't weigh anything.
Yeah. You don't need to worry about being on the top step of that ladder. You're gonna fall slowly.
Yeah, exactly. You'll make it there. You're gonna see it coming. Believe me. But you know, it's just one of those things that you're talking about suborbital. Well, not really suborbital. You're talking, you know, orbital, you know, logistics, getting to the International Space Station.
Yeah.
And then you're talking about going to lunar orbit for additional, you know, storage there too. Yeah. But if you think about it, that's when we start dealing with a rocket that hasn't gone up yet. You start dealing with Starship.
Starship's going to be big.
Yeah, whenever it gets off the ground.
Yeah.
You know, the race used to be, are we getting Artemis off the ground or are we getting Starship off the ground? Well, guess what? NASA won.
Blew the doors off of them.
Literally, blew the doors off this location. But the thing is, if you think about it, all of that cannot be done unless there was some sort of tracking involved.
Yeah.
You start dealing with the fact that you have an IMS where they know what is flying on board that Crew Dragon, on board that Cargo Dragon, or on board the Soyuz, or on board the whatever one comes from Northrop Grumman.
Yeah, I can't remember what that
was. You know, they already know what's there, and they already know that I'm going to dump my trash in the damn thing when I send it back. You know, and let what happens happen. You know, but the thing is they understand, and then they categorize what's coming back. So NASA knows immediately before that vehicle hits the ground, you know, hits the water, you know, or the ground if you're in Russia, is how fast we need to get things off of it.
Yeah. Like what? So.
Cygnus. The Cygnus spacecraft is what I was thinking about.
Okay. So the thing that's crazy to me is that so we've started to almost come full circle at this point. We're talking about just basic, you know, ground, you know, sea and air resources. We've gone into, you know, orbit, And even more so, I think that we could go further, like especially with the breakthroughs that NASA's been having.
Mm-hmm.
And no, I know we were talking junk about Starship, but the Falcon
It'll
9,
get us there.
the Falcon 9 landing has landed a record number of times. They've flown one of those rockets 13 plus times.
Yeah.
It's incredible that this thing continues to fly and they continue to land it. So all that I can see is with that technology.
And the thing is, if you think about it, the only supply chain behind that is refurbishment.
Exactly. You clean it up a little bit and make sure the integrity check works, and then we're going again.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
New coat of paint? Not even.
exactly. Sometimes not even. They just send it again. No coat of paint. It's just burnt. But all I'm saying is that we've I don't know if anybody's seen Japan Space Agency.
JAXA?
They did one like touch and go as well as NASA did on an asteroid.
Mm-hmm.
So they kind of hit it, got grabbed like with a claw or some type of vacuum, as much, rocks, dust, whatever you want to call it, off the top of it, and then kicked off to fly back home.
Yeah.
Now the goal for that being, what's on this thing?
Yeah. Are they mineable?
Yeah. What is this? Did I find diamonds? Did I find gold? Or did I find a lot of clay?
Yeah.
So like
with beach sand and trash.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, oh, it's the same out here. No,
Right.
No, but what I'm getting towards is that we were talking about outsourcing or getting the resources on Earth. Now we're getting to the asteroids, getting those resources, and then having a moon base to come back, facilitate, warehouse almost, and house these metals. Maybe even manufacturing can be moon based, and then
3D printing.
Yeah, like I just think of like the industry as a whole will benefit from the greater resources.
Oh yeah.
And the need for that, because it will force that innovation to go get, like we just touched them. We just touched a couple. Who says I can't go back and grab a whole one and come back, bring it back, or one that's kind of flying towards us. We maybe catch it in our orbit.
Yeah.
Right.
And the thing is, if you think about it, all of that has led, all of the different, technologies and stuff like that has led to us being able to do the warehousing part to support those operations better.
Yeah.
Because if you think about it, we store a lot of junk in warehouses, and a lot of stuff's on high racks and high bays and stuff like that.
Yeah, and is it like optimally stacked? Like,
yeah. You start dealing with the fact that humans can't go that high. They can go that high, but are they going to remember what's going on? Not unless they have a scanner with them. You're not going to say, hey, guess what? Do me a favor, find, case 15, but I'm going to send you 50 feet in the air. And, now you have 1,800 different little cases here, but I need you to find me 15.
Yeah.
You're not going to know what you're looking for. Now, if I give you a scanning device that says, hey, guess what? Do me a favor, look for this one. Okay, cool. I got the number. Scan. Okay, cool. I found it. I look at my thing. It tells me it's in row 3, section 4, subparagraph 3. And it's here. And I pull a little box. I send it down.
Yeah.
So old way of doing things. It's or newer old way.
I'm going to be honest. I think both, because NC State.
Yeah.
Their library. They just made a library before they finished their engineering buildings. This thing. Automated library. You type in, you say, I want this book. It's like, okay. It goes, finds the books and spits it out for you like a little vending machine.
Yeah.
And it lets you, has a little, I watched it, has a little window, and you see the thing zoom to the row. I'm not going to be able to climb the ladders that quick. I'm not going to be able to find the row that fast. Even if I knew where the book was, he beat me there in half the time.
Yeah. And the thing is, if you think about it, now, that's if you're dealing with like an ASRS, an automatic sort and resort system to go out there and pick and do whatever. If you're still dealing with a human base, you can give them smart glasses. Give them a map. Where am I going? And they can talk to you.
Yeah, I think the HoloLens, the VR, like the smart glasses idea is
Google
still,
Glass, if you want to go back that far.
It's still, I would even say it's still in its infant stages.
Yeah.
Because
well,
I think it has a good premise.
If you think about it, the guys who make all the barcode stuff, the barcode scanners,
those
guys have one that connects to their hand scanners that'll tell you what you're scanning and show you kind of what you're looking for off of your scanner, so you're not constantly looking at your scanner. Yeah, so it's kind of like a HUD, more or less a HUD.
I mean, that would make life easy.
Or you get like the Google Glass. The Google Glass has got a built-in scanner in it, if you can still find those, and you can actively scan with the Google Glass or smart glasses you're wearing at that time.
Yeah.
But
I know people.
There's always the second way of doing things.
Yeah.
There's the more complex way.
Oh, that's
Developers.
your favorite, isn't it?
For developers. For the people who are nerds like myself, is using a drone to do it.
Oh, why not?
If I have high racks, I'm gonna put a scanner on a drone, and I'm gonna set it up. I'm gonna put large tags on there. I'm gonna fly that drone, or let that drone do it autonomously because it has the ability to do it. Drones are drones for a reason. They're autonomous vehicles.
I'm just saying.
That can go up and take a picture and say, cool, I've scanned this, you have this, and then it scans how many's sitting there.
Yeah.
Using, you can be using any type of, advanced, scanning technology or machine learning, so that tell you what's there, and spit it into your IMS, so you know what's going on.
Probably got that all written in Python, like.
Right. You can even say, hey, guess what? Go find me this. Takes a picture of it, backs out so you can see the full thing of it, doing some collision avoidance,
and
then drops back down. Now I don't have to send a human up there to verify my stock levels.
Exactly.
It saves them time, saves me time, keeps them off a ladder.
Yeah.
And one thing, keep OSHA from breathing down my neck.
Yeah.
The thing is technology also makes warehousing, supply chain, and some of that safer.
It does, yeah. It absolutely does. Like, I would rather, people like talk about it all the time. I would rather not carry 1,000 pounds.
Yeah.
Bring me a forklift.
Exactly.
I would rather not walk this, half a mile back and forth 700 times a day. Give me the tugger.
Yep.
Right? Like, this is weight that I'm not trying to lug back and forth all day. What did they do? What did they do before we had technology? They had logs that they would roll. If you had a heavy weight, you would roll it and you would bring the log back out in front and roll it again.
You look at the pyramids.
Exactly. Like, so we're always thinking of ways to figure out how to do the things better. And honestly, once we started getting the data points, I think that's.
If you think about it, just what we were talking about just a second ago, the pyramids, they were like the epitome of how do I fix my warehousing issues. Oh, these stones are heavy as sin, and now I got to move them. What am I going to do? Oh, hey, look, we'll use logs.
Pulleys or something.
And pulleys, it's the I hate to say they also use labor, but
yeah, they did not pay.
They did not pay people, so it's considered slave labor at that point. But don't jump down our throat for it.
You cannot get that.
But the thing is, if you think about it, they figured out a way to take a current problem with the fact this thing weighs 10 tons, and move it across the ground, and look what they built. So they moved it from a point of consumption or point of manufacturing to point of install, and then make sure all of the warehousing and logistics was on point before they did it all. We've been doing logistics for a lot longer than people give us credit for.
God forbid you
doing it correctly is a different story.
You build the pyramid, you're missing a block.
Right.
It's not going to stand anymore.
Right. It's like, and that's why sometimes I think that if when you ever buy something from IKEA, you end up with extra screws. Mm-hmm. They just pack it in the thing because they know you're going to lose something.
So you're saying they had extra blocks over there and they built the pyramid just in case.
What am I supposed to do with a size 18 wrench? I don't know.
You're going to hold on to it until you need another table.
Right. And then you'll still end up with like 5 or 6 extras.
Yeah, we'll give you 2 more wrenches then.
It's like, and that's another thing. IKEA, great when it comes down to the fact that they got warehousing down to a science.
It's the store.
Yeah, right. It's the entire store.
They combined it.
And they figured out how to make labor cheap. You do it yourself.
Yes. It's so crazy. They're like, hey, you need it? It's right here. Go look at this aisle. This you may not understand what that word is. Probably in a different language.
Probably Swedish.
But I bet you there also can be like a type of scanner that detects when you take one and is like, I'm not saying there is one, but I'm saying that's how difficult is that?
Well, if you think about it, that's what they do with their POE systems. Once you want your point of sale systems, they check it, takes it out of their inventory immediately, then that automatically alerts their back stock to start refilling.
Yeah.
And if you think about it, they figured out how to make it where every single store gets the same exact thing, unless you're in the U.S. Mm-hmm. We do not get the same thing that they get in Europe. I'll tell you that right now. It ain't the same.
Yeah, it's definitely different.
But they all have the same exact material. Everybody gets the same version of the couch. Mm-hmm. And for some strange reason, you get the same version of the Swedish meatballs.
I'm not complaining.
But at the same time, you have to go pick it yourself. There's not somebody that's going to do it for you. And hey, guess what? I'm going to run this entire store with 5 people. How do I do that? Well, with my interim logistics stuff, all I got to do is worry about paying a couple forklift drivers to drop some stuff off, some people to help me load people's vehicles, and I'm going to worry about the poor schmuck that's having to buy this stuff that's going to put it together later at the house to go pick it for me.
Yeah, he's going to get it. You better pick the right parts too.
Right.
Right, because that part B needs its part A, and if you got the wrong one,
don't get two B's.
You're coming right back.
You have to go through the entire process all over again.
Yeah, possibly get a divorce because you can't figure out how to get this thing done for your wife.
And don't go the wrong way. They'll get mad.
Oh yeah. But that's also that's a good point. You brought that up. You just like made me think about it. That's also a supply thing.
Yep.
Like you go one way in, okay, you better get all your stuff on the first try. Are you gonna go around again? Might as well look at all the little knickknacks that you might need again. So that's an impulse like idea, and that's I guess more marketing or retail, but like that's an innovation that like has been made or tailored to, like you're using some type of technology to know that that's happening.
Yeah, but the thing is, think about the lack of technology in some of our stores.
Mm-hmm. Well, no, I'm even getting the POS system and their own inventory. Like when you're checking out on those things, and they like, let's say you run a test where you let everybody go in and walk everywhere, and you can walk in and back at the exit wherever you want, and then they test it how it is now. I bet you for a fact that those impulse buys would be higher because of the one way.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Right? And I'm not saying that people.
That's a statistical thing.
Like a law that you can't go backwards. By the way, in IKEA, they're not gonna like arrest you. By the way.
But it's like if you think about it, that's a statistical advantage. The fact that I'm gonna put more stuff in front of you as you're walking through this thing, and there's a high chance that you're gonna buy it. You're not gonna know that you needed plates.
Oh, yeah. They got me.
You know,
yeah, every time.
You don't walk in the door and go, oh, I didn't know I needed a freaking, a stretcher. What the hell do I need that for? But I don't know. It's going to go on the cart. Or, hey, I didn't know I needed a cheese grater.
Yeah, but this is a special one.
This is a different one. It's a spiralizer.
Right.
What's the difference between a spiralizer and a grater?
Nah, you ask the chef. I'm gonna be honest with you. There's a subtle difference.
But it's like, but the thing is, it's like you start dealing with 18,000 pairs of different types of knives, but they're all $1, and you don't realize you need them all.
Yeah, why not?
But they're all there, and that's before you even get the expensive stuff.
Yeah, why don't you get table mats like
right? Because the thing is, if you think about it, when you walk through IKEA, the first part of that business is 100% furniture, 100% of the time.
Uh-huh.
Right? You can get your entire kitchen made right inside IKEA. They're not bad cabinets either. But you start coming back around, and now it's all the accessories for the stuff that you're getting ready to go buy out in the back lot.
You need more hooks, bolts, anything.
So you're going to accessorize all of your stuff before you go buy it, which is going to triple your purchase value by the time you walk out the end of the store. Mm-hmm. So on every single person, they're probably making triple the value.
Yeah, that's a mind thing, and that's a research thing.
Right.
That's so for those big price points, they're probably not making a lot of money over manufacturing costs.
No.
It's the small stuff that they make the money
right.
on.
So how much can you make off a particle board? Come on.
Yeah, it's true. Not for nothing, I built my 3D printer enclosure, which is like a tower of 3 IKEA lac tables. It's pretty sturdy.
It works. Not saying they have bad stuff. Definitely don't have bad things.
So, I'm not saying, don't get me wrong, would not stand up in an earthquake.
Not sitting on it.
Would not. But heavily modified as well. But at the end of the day, it gets the job done. That's why people go there. It's cheap.
Right.
You're not spending
it's the same thing as like two of my favorite stores is Lowe's and Home Depot. It's the same exact reason.
Yeah.
It's a warehouse. You have to pick your own stuff.
Kind of.
They don't do it for you. And I spend 5 times as much more as I need to.
Yeah, it's kind of dangerous.
Lowe's and Home Depot, because I go to where I need to get. I get my stuff. I'm like, oh, maybe I should go look at this, and I go buying something else. That's how in the world I ended up with like 1,200 feet of freaking 550 of Cat 6 cable when I cabled my house when I first moved in. So I feel like I went back there 4 times and didn't think. Remember, I bought it because I was tired, and I bought the same thing over again. Oops.
Side note: does anybody need? No,
right.
Just kidding.
But the thing is that's where supply chain and technology and warehousing and different levels of warehousing get involved. That's before you start getting to like intermodal. You start dealing with going from truck to train, from train to ship.
Oh, that's a tough
You know,
one.
and the routes and the thing, and that you have truck drivers out there that are having to rely 100% of the time on GPS to figure out how to beat the clock because they only have a certain amount of hours to drive legally.
Yeah, see, and that's
you know,
the
they're
thing
moving
too.
the equipment across the. You know, my mom works in trucking. You know, she does dispatching, and you know, God bless her.
Yeah.
You know, she's got some of the best drivers on the planet. You know, these guys are they bust their tail day in day out,
I don't know
just
how
like
they
all
do
of them do. You know, but you know they're against the clock every single day, and you know what? They're on the forefront of technology when they're dealing with stuff inside those trucks. Now they have the trucks that look like damn freaking apartments.
Yeah. It wasn't it? It's a so it people can live in those. First off,
Yeah.
that's crazy. Not saying it has plumbing or anything. You're gonna have to.
Some of them have toilets.
Some of them have toilets.
And
this
and
is news
showers.
to me. The GPS. There's a special GPS
Oh yeah.
for trucking.
Yep.
I can't remember the brand name.
Still Garmin.
But there was it was like a big. Well, there's probably multiple to be honest.
Yeah.
But so all I'm saying is that the reason it was there is it tells you where it also updates with specific map settings preferences. These roads are not allowable by truck.
Yep.
Like this is the height tolerance for this bridge.
Exactly.
Like stuff like that where it's like, that might be a little vital before I slammed the container into this bridge and ruined everything, and that's my life savings, right?
Right.
So like it's the safety piece you spoke on earlier. It's the preparation for me like that like, hey, how can I get this there? The timing is incredible. I don't know how these guys do it.
The weight.
I am angry after a 2-hour drive. That is just, we call it the little man syndrome, whatever, Napoleon syndrome. I can't sit still in that one spot for 2 hours.
Well, your car is the size of a shoebox.
Yeah, see, it's even worse. I'm claustrophobic. but that's the thing. So they're using all this technology. They're pretty much living their lives. They're talking on ham radio. They probably have some type of, code language that they have.
Yep.
And they probably have some type, and these are all things that, if you heard pilots flying,
Yep.
would do. So like it's much the same. It's not lesser than any other logistical traveler, but like also uses so much tech as well.
And
you think it's one of the simplest things, but
right.
no, it needs that.
And you start dealing with the fact that you go, intermodal now, where they take that truck or that trailer, pick it up off the skid, and set it down inside of a train, and take it to the port, or wherever the heck it's going, and now you have to worry about the train and its weight. How much weight can that train pull without adding another locomotive and stuff like that. Yeah. But the thing is, it's kind of funny that I don't think they can do their own weight and balance sheets. Like, I don't know if it automatically does the weight for them. It's not like when you start dealing with, in trains, you got to deal with like torque and vectoring and stuff like that when you start talking about adding more and more and more trains to it and stuff like that. One pushing, one pulling, depending on the weight. Yeah. They're some of the heavy movers. Come on now. We've seen them move, coal trains, and it's absolutely insane. They're moving, metric, a couple 100,000 metric tons of, stuff. But then you start dealing with, airlines. You start dealing with the 747-8s. You're dealing with the 727s. You're starting to deal with those type of things. The bigger aircraft out there that are transporting, these massive size loads and stuff like that. You're having to do something called a weight and balance. You're trying to make sure that your CG is where it needs to be based on how much fuel you have on board, what your anticipated fuel burn is, what all this other stuff is, and you have to make sure all that stuff weighed before it gets on board.
Yeah.
The only reason why they want to make sure you only carry 50 pounds of bags when you're coming on board is that's what they know the basic calculation is. Mm-hmm. So they just add to it. And they figure out where on that airplane I'm going to move your stuff. And y'all, if you think they actually lost your bag, no, they didn't. They had to make weight and balance, so they shipped it to another airplane. That's happened.
Yeah.
That happened before.
Yeah, and honestly, if they all look the same bag, they're tossing them around.
And the thing is if you think about it, when you start talking about, and I can show you the formula later on it, but center of gravity, especially when you talk about a load, you're dealing with, the pilots have to do this calculation, or they have a system that does it. Most of the time, some of the pilots do it in their head, just to make sure, or on a calculator, just to make sure that they can make the weight and balance based off of what the little machine tells them.
Right.
Because there's weights and scales inside the airplane. They put everything in there. It tells them what their center of gravity is, and they move the load from there. However, inside their head, they're talking about, okay, my cruise altitude is 35,000 feet. My fuel burn is right about 1,000 gallons a minute, for this duration of flight, give or take a couple hours. And I'm pulling most of my fuel from the left tank or the right tank, and at what point do I start converging both tanks to equally activate my fuel burn to fuel all engines? What is my thrust versus weight calculations? Just to determine where on that airplane that load sits.
Yeah. Turbines and jet engines and all that stuff
Totally
is
different.
so crazy. They're so crazy to think about.
Which is funny because then you have the helicopters out there that can lift these heavy loads just by using that stuff. And that's another form of logistics transport. That the DoD uses is helicopter from point A to point B. Even in civilian atmosphere, they still use from point A to point B flight of helicopters.
Yeah, I mean, I think I can think of like 3 examples immediately offhand where they use the helicopter, because the helicopter can get into a place where a plane can't.
Oh yeah.
Much easier, and can land, pick you up, and get out much quicker. So, like, let's say you have a life-threatening injury, you can't be moved.
Yep.
You can't get in the ambulance to drive across town. You don't even have the time. Maybe you need to go to a special place, a specialty like doctor or anything like that. The quickest way is going to be air.
Yep, life flight.
Is going to be a helicopter. So, I mean, honestly, all those types of things, and a drone is just a mini helicopter. Like, it's crazy.
Yeah.
I mean, I want one, to be honest with you. It's going to make my life.
And now you have drone logistics because you have some companies, Walmart, delivering via drone.
Yeah. Amazon will be there soon.
Yep. In
Amazon
certain areas, it's great.
Yeah, I mean, when you're thinking of, that's something that, like, I mean, I should think about more. Like, you like, I've looked at these tugboats that are like the giant vessels bringing over hundreds of storage containers, and they're probably full. Like, how large do you need to make this to balance the weight, right? Also, everything inside might be shifting too. How can I control that, right? Like,
the lockdown systems are absolutely insane.
It's incredible to get all those things together, and also I'm sure they have they should have some type of scale at the port where you take a container off, you set it on the scale, and then you move it to the spot if it's long-term storage.
Right.
I'm thinking there is one. It's been probably 7 years since I've been to a port.
Yeah.
So there's probably some new stuff, but they had one there. So. Yeah. And even on the communication level, like if you're doing intermodal, like you're going between carriers. Let's say AWS is trying to get something, so they got to use FedEx, blah blah blah, whatever. But at the end of the day, they need to communicate with each other, and in order to get you, the customer, the best, most updated alerts, they need to be able to talk to each other and scan things in real time.
Right.
So it's very difficult, but communication also is going to be very vital in getting us anywhere near some type of supply chain that like can continue into the future, right? I mean, because like if I asked you right now, do you think our current supply chain would be able to sustain growth?
Not unless there's technology put behind it.
I feel like we're struggling right now.
Yeah, we need to put more technology behind it. We need to be more, technology minded when it comes down to logistics. I think that the tracking point of it, has to be there, from raw part consumption to major consumption. So I kind of think that's where we're at. But the grand scheme of things, I think we're close.
Yeah.
And I see that, with more and more logistics management systems being built, being documented, and I'm actually getting into that a little bit when I write my ebook about MES systems. We start talking about manufacturing execution systems, is how do we use an MES system in logistics, in warehousing, because warehousing is the backbone of manufacturing. If it wasn't for the warehouse to hold our parts and accessories, we would be shit out of luck, and we'd be constantly in a fight.
Yeah. We could rapidly prototype and create a single station.
Right.
But God forbid production on higher levels? No way.
Yeah, so you
No
have to have
way.
your logistics in plant.
Yeah.
And the thing is those guys are, they're rock stars when it comes down to some of the stuff they're doing. But it's also the technology behind it. We need to make, as IT professionals and stuff like that, we need to make their life easier. You know, for certain things. Don't, now I'm not saying, you logistics guys out there don't make our life hell.
Please no.
We want to, we want to make sure that we're developing systems to support, the intermodal logistics, to support, the guys who are dealing with, trucks and, planes and, and all of that.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, it's the most difficult part about a lot of things with technology is learning to live with the new, the change, because at the end of the day, I don't know if you've worked in manufacturing. I mean, we're doing a production, but like, have you worked in like a warehouse spot or like any type of? I think we talked about this before. You did this at one of the car stores.
I worked for Advanced Auto, and also the dreadful store called Big Lots.
Oh yeah. What I'm saying is, when I worked for Best Buy, I had a TC52 Zebra scanner, and that thing is what it lived with me. But I remember before that, there was a guy walking around where he had to physically take the scanner, scan the part, walk over back to the computer, look at the thing, verify it's right, walk all the way back, and that's like...
Lucky you.
That's terrible.
I got a sheet of paper that said, hey, guess what's in this bin? Go have fun.
Oh,
this is what it looks like.
Figure out where it's supposed to go. Well, I mean, honestly, but he's...
Check the UPC code.
He's going through that inventory we just received and verifying things are put in the right spaces.
Yep.
Setting up carts if they need to come in and things like that. And all of that's ran by that little scanner. I'm thinking that, like... I mean, of course, this is going to be the next step, and of course, I like Fallout, so this would make sense, like a Pip-Boy, like little arm scanner. Like, we're nearing that point where we're going to have some type of huge breakthrough. I think 3D printing was a big thing for industry, getting it onto a more consumer base. But like, I'm thinking some type of like arm band type scanner.
Yep.
Right.
I can see that.
Once we get some type of Wi-Fi system set into place. But like this is something that, like, if I was a worker, if I had a worker in my manufacturer or my plant, and I had them picking these parts, I would want them with some type of power glove like that. That would be boom, boom, boom. Okay, this glove holds. This is everything I need. It has all my inventory. It tells me what to do next and everything. Now, of course, you're saying get the glasses. I think the glasses would be good. I don't think the glasses will be here before a glove would be.
Yeah.
To be honest, I think we're getting really close to some type of glove. But like that's how I would picture factories of the future. Is that, of course, maybe even the drone has all that stuff that's on that arm. Mm-hmm. But we got to step into that, right? Like
right.
we can't just start running.
We're definitely getting there.
But like, so you start with innovating, maybe even connecting the user into those things. So by utilizing their own whatever pattern, making that technology or logging it, then you can start getting more precise with the materials that you have. Then you can start getting more precise with the waste clearing. And dude, not only will it produce more, you're going to start making a lot less waste.
Yeah, I can agree with that.
I think that, and it helps the earth.
Yep, so. And I know we kind of went over on time, but the big thing is it's like it's just, that's maybe something we should stop apologizing for. Yeah. No, but it's important to know that we're dealing with the technology behind logistics here. That's what it is. I know we've first started out with supply chain, kind of went in intergalactic.
They're kind of connected.
And everything's connected. Everything is logistics. Logistics incorporates supply chain, warehousing, point of sale and delivery. But the big thing to remember is help move this forward. If you're a technology company or a 3D printing company, think about a way that you can move things forward. We're big on using 3D printers as the next manufacturing device. I think that they are going to be the next big thing in manufacturing. This starts from the guys who are at our level. Joe Schmuckatelli and freaking Peter Rabbit sitting in the corner freaking with a printer. But it's beating back the supply chain issues. It's being the forerunner on it. But it's understanding that whatever industry you work in, you can make a change in logistics based off of kind of what's going on.
Yeah.
And, so with that, I'm going to say thank you. To everybody who's listened to us. We're definitely getting close to that 1,000 mark, that magical 1,000. We're at 975, I think. We're 985 somewhere around there.
You get there soon.
We're on the way. I'm pretty happy about that.
Yeah.
It's fun to know that we've shared, a little bit of humor, a little bit of fun, a little bit of laughs. With 985 people who has downloaded this podcast and listened to us.
Mm-hmm.
We thank you for that, And, hopefully one of these days, we can get, some of the ebooks out there for y'all to read. Some of the information, that y'all want.
Yeah.
And, be there in case y'all have questions, or even, at one point, come out and give y'all a hand with a project to work on. We'd love to do that. Give us an idea.
Yeah, it'd be pretty cool.
Maybe we could pull 3D printers out and, see what you got. So, but, with that, I say thank you. And I'll turn it over to Champ for the end of it.
Yeah. So again, guys, thanks. Always a pleasure. Like, it's always nice to see anyone listening, anyone hearing, or even if you're showing it to someone else or listening again, it's always something that's like heartwarming for me, at least. So I really do appreciate that. And guys, one thing that I've always kind of prided myself on is that I want to promote well-being. I want to further help you in your process, which will end up inevitably helping me, because I'm learning something about what you're doing while also assisting you to get to your end goal. So in my mind, I think I would issue a challenge to you guys, is like, if you have a project, or even like if it's something that you're working on that you're stuck with, like, why don't you ask us? Like, if you have a problem that you see in industry, if you have a problem you see in technology, why don't you, like, we're definitely going to be a couple guys that you would want to talk to, because we have kind of a first eye, we're witnesses to like what industry and production's kind of doing. We see what other places do. We kind of mimic or take the best parts of it. And that's kind of how competition works. So like at the end of the day, if you want to be competitive or even learn more about any of that, why wouldn't you ask some of the people that are, in the thick of it? So I'm not saying that I know everything, but saying that we could talk about it and figure it out. That's all. So once again, guys, thank you. And we'll see you on the next one.
And, I'd like to, jump in here last second to issue a challenge. And that is, usually Ed does that for us, but, we'll do it this week. Go out there and look at how your logistics is working inside your own office or inside your own area, wherever you are in the world. We got people from all over the world listening to us. How is technology influencing their processes, their procedures? And, how are you supporting that? Or come up with another way to help them, and just play with it.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, let us know if y'all need anything. All right, y'all. Have a good one.
Take it easy.
All right.
Thank you for listening to the Tech at Lunch podcast, where we hope you learned something about tech during your break or during your lunchtime. If you did, please give us a follow to prevent missing future episodes. If you have any ideas or something you want to hear or learn about, please send us a show idea to podcast@vulcanara.com. Hope you have a good rest of the day and continue learning.